Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sahaj Times podcast. This podcast is turning into a weekly one, at least for a month, just as a little experiment to see how it goes. And you could be the next guest. If you have something to share, an experience, a project, a tour, a seminar, or any kind of initiative, feel free to sign up. There is a link in the description where you can apply to be a guest or even suggest someone you think would be great to have on. We'd love to hear it from you. And actually, for today's episode, we have Sean Prem Nat. I don't know if I said that correctly.
Hey. No, you did good. You did good.
Okay, I did good again. Okay, cool. Nice to know. And nice to meet you, man. Thank you for signing
Nice to
up.
meet you too, man. Yeah, oh good, oh good. I've always followed the show very intently. I think I started watching it when you did the Turning the Mangala Sutra. I think that was really good when you had Kasim and Ganesh. And yeah, some of those guys over there, and Sahaj Bevan as well. That was really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really cool episode.
Yeah, thank you really much, man. And I've seen you really active on Instagram, sometimes like sending memes, answering to the stories. So I feel like it had to happen. And now we are here, finally linked up. And
Yes,
maybe you're the first guest from Australia. Am I wrong with that? I don't know. I don't even know.
Yes, I've been advocating to you guys. Yes, stop staying in the European bubble. Start expanding a bit more,
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I'm trying also to go across, all over the world. I'm trying to meet other yogis.
Yes.
Which is why I started these weekly podcasts, shorter ones, but with the people that can share their experiences, and it's really fun.
Yep.
That you mentioned turning the Mangala Sutra,
Yes.
Because when you sign up, you can suggest some topics that you would like to bring to the podcast, and man, you suggested a really interesting topic because you are married. But you're not married in Sahaja Yoga, like in the terms of getting matched in Sahaja Yoga. You got matched outside, right?
Correct.
Okay, let me know a little bit more about this. I'm really interested about this.
So I thought maybe I'll start a little bit about what led me to this situation, because I think that maybe can people understand, I guess, my journey, why I took this route. So around, I guess, at some point in your life, you start realizing that you're no longer Yuva Shakti, and it's time to take that next step. And I guess the next step in life is to get married, so to speak. I feel like I was at a point in my life where I thought to myself, okay, I think enough of the soul, the boy running around and whatnot. Time to be a man, and and I guess take the next step. Then I guess be the Shakti, and so to speak. And I actually went the route of. I grew up with this understanding that Sahaj marriage is the way to go. And I think most yogis would think that, where if you practice Sahaja Yoga, if you either go to like ISPS or whatever, and then you come to normal life in your collective, you practice Sahaja Yoga in your collective, and then the next thing to do when you're ready to transition from Yuva Shakti is to get married, and you do it through Sahaj marriage, right? I think when it came to my time, and this is like 2018, I said to myself, "Yep, I think I'm ready. I've settled. I've done what I need to do, and now it's time for me to take the next step." And I guess when it came to relationships and all those kind of things, I guess I've always understood it as the boyfriend and girlfriend and those kind of things, but I never thought that Sahaja Yoga had a space for that, right? It's like if you date, it's like, or you're dating someone, So usually, I think that was what I grew up with, right? So the concept of having a boyfriend or a girlfriend was like, you don't talk about it. It was a very taboo topic. So I thought to myself, okay, you know what? I'm the kind of person, I like to just be very clear of who I am. I don't like to sort of beat around the bush. So I said, okay, I'll do Sahaj marriage. And as we all know, when you go through Sahaj marriage, sometimes you can either work out, not work out. I had to go through my own sort of learnings and my own tests to really realize that maybe Shimanji was trying to tell me that this is not my time yet. And I guess that's how the divine usually works. You tell yourself that you're ready, then suddenly the divine goes, no, you've got some more things to do, and then you go from there, right? So I went. It was very interesting. I had every intention to go for 2018 Ganesha Puja with the intention to come back with as a married person, and I literally did a weekend trip to Cabela, came back, and I was like completely heartbroken. And I guess I went through my own journey, and I was talking to a lot of the uncles and aunties over here as well. And a lot of them were either saying like, it could be maybe like it was. I had to reflect on myself. Maybe is it maybe I needed to do more meditation, more surrender to the divine, more bhakti, more shraddha. So I was trying. I guess I looked at myself as a bit more of a problem rather than being like I'm actually okay, but this is just a test. Funny as I reflect on this, when this happened to me before, I was like always asking myself, what's wrong with me? Did I like, did I not food soak enough? Did I not do candling enough or whatever, all that kind of stuff? And I realized that I went through that journey. And then I think funny at that time when that was happening, it was when myself, Rennie Berry, and Kasim, we all sort of had a conversation with each other, and Devindra Payman at that time as well. We talked about doing the Meditate Australia tour. And so whenever you don't feel good, the best way to do is just do like, organizing a tour, doing something relating to Sahaja Yoga. It's a good way to really get yourself going to it. And then 2019 came, and I again did not think about this whole concept of marriage or whatever and things like that. But as I was doing the preparation for this tour, I I kind of got my own journey in what I felt about Sahaj marriage. For me, I felt that everybody in the Sangha, whether it be just the World Collective or just my own collective, were like a family to me. They were my brother, my sister, they were my uncle, my auntie, um, a mother figure, a father figure, right? Um, and I struggled to go past that. And I think a lot of people maybe when they put the name down, they have this thing where suddenly they go, oh, I'm matched to my Rocky sister, or I'm matched to my Rocky brother. And there's all of this conversation of like, how do you go past that and accept that? Some people either get it, some people struggle with it. I felt that with my journey that happened to me, I thought to myself that everybody in Sahaja is my family, and I can't. And I think that was my test to Shimaji. That I guess Shimaji gave me that test that this is not the route. And I guess that's when I started asking a lot of questions to other people who I guess who got married or who have been in the days where Shimaji personally matched those people, kind of thing, right? And I asked them,
Mhm.
uncle, auntie, like, is Sahaj marriage supposed to be the way that everybody should go? Like, if you don't do it, will you be less of a yogi because you don't do it? Um, and a lot of people actually said, and I have to I'm pulling my ears as I say this because I think one of the uncles or aunties said that there was a talk by Shimaji, and Shimaji said that not everybody should have to go through Sahaj marriage. It's their own sort of journey, and that's the thing that I guess maybe ask myself, like, do I have to go through a different route? And I guess I come from an ethnic background where if you don't do Sahaj marriage, it's arranged marriage, which is the very typical way to do it, right? And like I guess being with somebody that you probably meet for like 1 year and then that's it, you get married like or with them like in like a month or something or whatever. And myself like, no, that's not what I wanted, but I wanted to maybe build a relationship with someone and talk to them about Sahaja Yoga and then slowly bring them into this way of life, and whatnot. And then and so around 2019, I remembered we just finished the MAT tour, the Meditate Australia tour, and we were at the country property celebrating Guru Puja. And there was a talk by Shimaji that Shimaji said that when you give realization to someone, you're giving an image of what you want to see in a human being. So I
Mm.
thought to myself at that time, and I got this sort of epiphany in my meditation after Aarti and Maha Mantras. I said to myself, like, I think one thing that came to my head, the thought was, why don't I just meet somebody outside, give them their self realization, and if they accept Sahaja Yoga, then great, that's good. But for some reason at that time, it was just an idea. It was just a thought that just came to my head. And I thought to myself, okay, let's just explore it and see whatever happens. And that's when I
The
guess,
desire, right? That's
Yeah,
totally,
yeah,
that's
desire.
not
Yeah,
an
yeah,
idea. That's a desire.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I guess one thing is also like I'm 30. I'm turning 36 soon. So at that time when it happened, I was 30, right? So I was like, okay, I'm not getting younger. I have to start, thinking of what next and whatnot. And that's when I dabbled into the world of online dating. And
Okay.
I guess online dating gets a bit of bad rep. I think especially in I know I can speak on behalf of my own collective. I got a lot of like uncles pulling me to the side saying, why are you on these like sites, where people can like swipe right or swipe left or whatever, stuff like that. And I'm just like, I mean, I'm just exploring the options, right? Like and I guess that's how I met my wife. I actually met my wife through an online dating site. So um, and I guess
Yo,
yeah.
that,
So and I guess yeah. So I actually it's the funniest story ever. Like, and it's funny when like even till today, her parents still don't even know how we met. She think they both her parents think that it's like we went to university together, and and even it's funny. Like I say this right now, but I think I'll cop it later on. But my parents still don't understand how online dating works. They think it's like, oh, it's like arranged marriage, but like it's just on an app or something. But like now they sort of understand it. But when I did it at that time, it was like, oh, that's wrong. You shouldn't go. And they start like, how it is sometimes with some of these uncles and aunties. They start saying like, it's very bad vibes and blah blah blah. I'm just like,
mm.
uh, is it really though? Like,
It's not
have
that
you
bad
actually
at the
tried
end,
it?
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I found my wife there, so and the rest is history. So
Yeah, no, that's so interesting, man. That is so interesting. I know. I know that it is a little bit of a taboo, online
yeah,
dating. I don't know which app did you use, but also
I use
because the
Hinge.
Hinge. Okay, okay, that's getting a
Mm,
little bit more serious compared to the other apps, for
yep.
what I know.
Mm,
And
mm, mm.
but man, it's so interesting, and I'm really actually curious about the process of bringing her from. She comes from outside. Was she into spirituality
Yeah,
and.
so her background is Tamil Sri Lankan,
Mhm.
and so she grew up in the temple culture where it's like Fridays is vegetarian, and you only go to temple when it suits you, right? So for example, if you go for temple, you should be so say if I decided to go to temple today, like I would have to be vegetarian. I would have to take a shower and for that day I have to be like whatever God is supposed to see me as, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So don't
people
don't
take
drink that
showers
day.
before
No
going
eat
anywhere.
meat. Yeah, yeah. Like do the things that consider you as holy, right? But then once you step out of that, like you do whatever. Like if you want to go do whatever and stuff, that's perfectly fine. All those kind of things, right? So she came from that culture, and when we first met, I got full permission to talk about this because she said it's okay.
Okay.
We so she I think this gets a lot spoken about social drinking, where you drink for the sake of drinking. Like, so if someone offered you a beer or alcohol, you take it, right? So she's one to not say no. She wouldn't go and actively chase for that, but if she get offered, she wouldn't say no. Okay.
Mhm.
So she came from that culture, right? And I guess with people who go to temples, if we compare the temple lifestyle versus Sahaja, Sahaja is not a coat that you put on and you take off. You practice it every day, like, and that's the reason why Shamaji say like you meditate every day to work on your kundalini and ensuring that it rises, and all these kind of stuff. It's not just like you put a cloth on, you put it for wash, and you take it later. It's a lifestyle, right? But for me, and that's one of the things that I guess why my parents got us into Sahaja, because we felt that we came from that lifestyle, the temple lifestyle, where it's like, oh, Friday's vegetarian day, so you don't have meat that day. You go to temple that day, so to speak. And if there's a temple festival, you have to be like vegetarian for like that particular time. Do everything right, but then after that, do whatever do whatever you want, so to speak. So for her, when she knew about this, I in the first, I think 2 months in, when we were dating. I told her, look, I practice this thing called Sahaja Yoga meditation, and I actually gave her realization, and at that time, she experienced it, but she came from a background where it's like, in order not to offend somebody, like she would just say, yeah, I feel good, but she never was like, I could tell like from the get-go she wasn't really fully into it. Like she was
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
she was just like, yeah, it's an experience, it's great, but it was like, it's like you give, like, it's like, for example, when you give a realization to someone, um they can accept the process and they go through it, but whether they are actually seekers, that's another story altogether, right? You can raise the kundalini, do the affirmations, get them to feel the cool breeze or whatever, but it's up to them to sort of nurture it, right? So when I did the realization with her, she was like, yeah, it felt good, I feel really good, like I feel different or whatever. I said, okay, cool, no worries. And then I gave her, like, I think at that time you have those like cards where it shows you like the affirmations, like the
Oh
beginner
yeah.
cards that we have here. So I gave it for her to do it. She would always so in her culture they call it like the temple room or like the god room. So she puts it there, but she only goes to do that when she gets told to do it, right? So it was not self-driven. One thing that I guess really made it more I guess set in stone was that we were dating in 2019, and then just end of 2019, and then early 2020, that's when COVID hit. So
Yeah.
it was a very different sort of environment to be in, and I guess dating in that environment as well, like the use of video calls, WhatsApp videos and all that kind of stuff. So there were a lot of times where um we would talk about just, I guess, what heart to heart, and I guess what a normal human being, boy and girl would talk about. But when it comes to matters of Sahaja Yoga, um, I tried not to force like my agenda onto her, kind of thing. Like
Mhm.
I openly said to her, like, for example, when it comes to the drinking stuff, like I said, I don't like, we don't drink. That's not what we do over here. And she said, like, well, I mean, if I get offered a drink, I'm not going to say no to it. And I said to her, like, we made an agreement, said that if you're going to drink, then, like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want you to talk to me about it. Like, just you go do your thing and just hang out with your friends. But then I think it struggled for her because every time she had some, she would always like, Professor Love and all that kind of stuff and whatnot and things like that. So, but I was very clear that I didn't like that. I didn't want that.
Mhm.
And it was a very difficult process for me to explain because it did. I guess there was a bit of like guiltiness that came from this because it felt like I was forcing her to do Sahaja
Mhm.
Yoga to make this work, right?
Yeah.
Like everything was ticking the boxes later, like in terms of characteristics. She had good, nice qualities. I think I would say now she says that she feels like she's a Lakshmi. Like today, now we're like 5.5 years in together. She now says that she feels like she's a Lakshmi, right? Back then, she didn't understand what that meant, right? So for her, she understood it from her family where the women always it's the traditional duties in the kitchen, provide and
Mhm.
cooking and all that kind of stuff, and never be that kind of stuff. So always in servitude to the husband, right? So for her, it was a very interesting thing to learn something where she had to be her own, I guess, her own master, so to speak, and where she could dictate her fate as to what she wants to do. Um, so the Sahaja Yoga concept took a while, but I had to also put some requirements in there as well. Like, for example, I wanted to start bringing her to collectives. I wanted to start bringing her to pujas and whatnot. But I knew like it was a hard one to do because I think, funny enough, her first puja was the Shivaratri puja, and I guess we all know Shivaratri puja is
Yeah.
it's a pretty intense one, right?
Yeah.
Where you see Shrimaji in a full Sri Shiva form, and you're like, wow, it's pretty intense. Um, it's and the one thing that I would also say as well, she understood all the deities, right? Like
Mm.
she knows about Sri Shiva, Sri Lakshmi, Sri Ganesha, and all that kind of stuff. But um, she never she never made the correlation between the deities and how it relate to our subtle system,
Yeah.
like how Shimaji would have explained it to us. she I guess looked at the deities as a way of like, oh, God, please make sure that I pass my exam. I've got a review coming up. We ask God for stuff for us rather than we do in servitude to the divine, so to speak. So it was only by necessity that she did it. So her relationship with the divine and I guess Sahaja Yoga in general was very if I need you, I'll get you. If I don't need you, that's it. I'll get on my day. I know you're there, but I don't need you, kind of thing. So explaining to her things like meditating regularly, what's it called? Things like we have to do candling, do food soak, and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
It was a very like it was a journey for me, and I realized as well for me, I needed to be, I guess, my own guru and help explain that to her because um, it's a process when you explain to a seeker about it you have no relations whatsoever, right? And that's fine, and they have to sort of just go through their journey. But when it's someone that you have a relationship with, like, and not just a brother sister or like Marietta's what sort of things, like someone that you are well invested in and you want to try and bring into your way of life, it's very you got to be careful of the boundaries that you do because you don't want to come across that you are better and they're lower kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
So it was something that I showed her the stuff, I showed her everything, but then I also learned that she has to openly accept it, she has to openly do it, and whatnot. And I kind of just let her have her space to go through it, because I think that's the one thing that I learned in this process is if I kept saying, "Oh, you need to do A, B, C, and D to be considered a Sahaja," then like I think that ruins the whole entire process, and we become um, very dogmatic, so to speak. Like it's not
Yeah,
the
like mechanical.
yeah, that's the word. Yeah, mechanical. So I I had to sort of also let her be the one to show the interest, show the thing, and really get involved herself into it. Um, and there were some days that it really tested our relationship as a couple, because I guess there was a lot of, I guess, mariadas and things that she had to understand, and again explain to her how mariadas work. That was it's not something that you can just sit overnight to do it. It's something that you learn over time, and you learn the boundaries and the mariadas that comes with it. It was a journey of its own. And I think now over time, I think she understands it. She's still like, like the other day, we were funny. We had a collective meditation yesterday night, and she said to me, like we were trying to say the Ganesha Tavashisha, and she's like, "You haven't even given me the Ganesha Tavashisha. I haven't." I'm like, and we're like, she goes to every puja, she goes to thing, and when everyone says it, like how everybody in Sajaga, like if you've attended for as long as you sort of know Ganesha Tavashisha off your heart,
Yeah.
right? She's the
Mhm.
kind of person like, I've been with you for 5.5 years and you still haven't given me Ganesha Tavashisha.
Yo, bro, and that was like a some Valentine gift, like the mantra book. This is what I'm used to. You can read this, you can learn this. This is
Yeah, yeah,
this is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And I have one last question for you, actually,
yeah.
because did you try to get like a Sahaj marriage with her, like with the Mangal Sutra and the entire ceremony? Is that
So
possible to do? I don't know.
no, so with her culture, and I guess mostly with South Indians, usually it's the bride's family that does a lot of the planning. So when my parents and I guess us and her parents started speaking, the way she did things was like her in her culture is very different, right? And one thing to be told as well, Lele, she also was going through a very interesting journey because in her family, she was the first one to do a love marriage where everybody
Mm.
else was in that arranged environment where the parents did everything and they just went through the motion. So this was a chance for, I guess, both of us to talk about how we wanted this marriage is supposed to happen, which I thought was very interesting. And I thought I put that out there because I think sometimes a lot of people think that, or if it's not Sahaj marriage, it's like, you don't have a say in it. It's not it's either the materialistic wedding where it's like, all this fancy bouquet or whatever and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, we tried to do it in such a way where we had the best of both worlds. So for her, she had a thing where they had to do, like, for example, they have a thing in her culture where they make the thali. Well, they call it the thali. Mangalsutra, thali, same thing. So thali is the
Okay.
South Indian equivalent. But the thali can be made where there's a ceremony where everybody except the bride will go to the groom's house, and will be in the process where they'll add the I guess the priest who will marry you will go through the process of actually blessing the thing and making the actual tali that I will tie for her, right? But she's not
Mhm.
allowed to attend. Okay. Now, what we did for this one, my parents wanted to do it a bit differently. My grandmother wanted to give a thali for her, right, as a gift from our side to her, and so we kind of just changed a lot of things of how they do it. They would actually have a proper engagement ceremony. We didn't do that. Like when I say engagement ceremony, like for example, they have this thing where you have to exchange like bowls of fruits to each other to signify that we accept this rites and stuff like that. You have the priest to come and bless. We said we're not going to do that. We just want to keep it simple. If anything, I just did the old-fashioned, got on one knee, put a ring. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And then when it came to introducing the Sahaj things, my parents basically said, whilst we followed the traditions of her culture and whatever it is, we just said, can we just put a photo of Shimaji near the what they call it, the mandap, right? So that we put a photo of Shimaji over there. And what I did was there's a part where, like, I guess in the ceremony where I walk up first and then she walks in the second time. So she walks in again. What I did was, as I was walking up, I actually bowed down in front of on Shimaji's photo and just raised my kundli, give myself a bandan, and then just gave like my blessing to Shimaji and whatnot. And then after that, we sat at the actual altar itself. But Shimaji's photo was quite obvious that we had it there. And I think we tried to also get some input from other yogis as well, to how can we make this still around the Sahaj rites and the Maryadas that we bring into it. Because the way that her family does it, it's very like there's a set way and it had to be done that way kind of thing. But we tried to sort of introduce it. It was a very interesting conversation because it was two different cultures, right, Lily? And we had to
Yeah.
try and find we had to strike a balance, right? And it was a very interesting thing to do that, because what we did was, when we did that, we also did a ceremony where we went after I tied the tali on her. We would have to do like where she goes to the men house and then she goes to the bride's house. Luckily, like her parents and my parents' house, they're like 5 minutes apart. Like not 5 minutes, probably like 20 minutes. Oh no, 10 minutes drive from each other, so it's not too bad. So what we did was, we first went to her parents' house. Then when we came to my parents' house, my parents like got some of the aunties to do like aarti. For us, we sat down in meditation. I think we said like just a mantra to Sri Ganesha, and we also said like just the last of the Maha Mantra. Because I guess it was never been done before. So we sort of try and put a bit of Sahaj taste into it,
Yeah.
and just to sort of make sure that it is. And now here we are, like, we're coming to 3 years being married now. Her journey into Sahaja Yoga is very different to how I would do it. And I think, like, it's funny, we just had Easter that just passed. And, I think for as long as I've always told her, like, when they call for married ladies, they call you should definitely go up. And she always goes to, I'll go when I go. And it was really cool to see that for the welcome Aarti, she was actually up there doing the welcome Aarti. Which I thought was really cool, because I think, especially when you bring somebody into Sahaj, these things it can go two ways, right? When you tell them to do it versus where you get forced to do it, right? But
Yeah.
she voluntarily went up there and did it. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing. And I think for me, like, I didn't even expected it. I just sat down in meditation. I just said to Shimaji, like, just give her her journey, give her her thing, but also make her understand that this is not just about like uh mechanical thing where you just do when you come here. It's an actual lifestyle. Like for example, even having this ashram as well, she took a while to understand how an ashram works, right? If
Mhm.
you and I, and I guess those who are listening on this, we know how an ashram works, right? Everybody comes together, we chip in. The core, the principal deity of the house is Shrimadji. So no matter what you do, it's always about pleasing her. You do things like clean the house, wash Shrimadji's feet, get new flowers or whatever and stuff like that. It's really cool with she being the only Lakshmi in this house, and like there's two other boys that I hear. She really helps bring that balance and really talks about we should be putting flowers, we should clean Shimaji's things, and there's a lot of just putting that as priority, which I thought was really exciting because I guess exciting in a sense that she embraced this life that
Mm.
her husband is doing. Not because her husband is doing it and that's why she's doing it in servitude of me. She did it because she's found the value in it and she wanted to do it. Right. And I think that needs to be said, especially when you bring somebody into Sahaja Yoga, because uh, sometimes people do it for the sake of, oh, my partner's doing it, so I'm doing it as well. But when they have their own connection and their own bhakti, and when they sit down and they do that, like without, like sometimes I would have to remind her to meditate. Now she comes and reminds me to do meditation.
Yeah,
It's
you're the
it's in
troubled one. Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting where she starts like acting into the way it is, and I think that's really exciting to see. But what I learned about all of this is that you have to give them the space to realize what this is and what we do. A lot of us, like, this is all we knew, this is all we ever done, right? And we don't think anything otherwise, and we have to go through our own journeys to realize our bhakti and ashraddha to Sahaja and to Shimaji for that matter. When we bring somebody in, you have to be mindful that you don't have to bring them to be at the same level as you, and you should not also give that impression that you are higher than them, because then that actually diminishes the relationship, and it actually makes it even harder for you to function as a couple. I'm actually very grateful with her. She embraced this from the get-go. She really yeah, she really took this on. Like, she didn't have to, right? I've seen situations where people get married, but they always say, like, they go in such a way where, oh, Sajaga is my partner's thing. I don't have to necessarily get involved with it. I can do my thing, but I'll only come if they ask me to come, kind of thing, right? They don't voluntarily come. And I've seen that a lot, and I guess I grew up in that kind of collective that has that kind of thing. And I said to myself, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to marry someone on Sajika, I don't want them to just go like, this is my thing and I do it. I would want them to come into it and have the experience themselves and then formulate their own opinions about certain things. Because that has allowed me to, if anything, like, everybody here loves, like, my wife. Like, they just say, oh wow, she's so sweet, she goes. And I mean, typical aunties, they always, like, oh, so cute, whatever, and stuff like that, all those kind of things. But they also know that they are talking to somebody who may not necessarily understand the ins and outs of the Sahaja Yoga Mariadas and that it brings into it. But they feel like she already has that from her vibrational qualities. It's funny that she is now slowly starting to doing things based on vibrations rather than being like caught up in the agya, so to speak. So I think giving that space is really important, because if you don't, then you are no better.
Yeah,
And I
they
think the
wouldn't grow.
relationship dysfunctions. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, she's also on a spiritual journey,
Yep.
just like you. It's just two different paths that just met to get
Yep.
married through a dating app. At this time, is not through Sahaja marriage,
Yeah.
but the outcome seems to be like the same. to be honest. And
Mm.
also, you seem to be like really, really profound and bond to Sahaja Yoga at the same time.
Mm.
And it's really like the words you're saying to describe this relationship are really healthy, and it's really lovely now to hear
Mm.
all these
Mm.
things. And sadly, we have to wrap it up
Mm.
because it's been 30 minutes. But Sean, it was really interesting. This is like the most modern perspective we might have about relationships here,
Yep.
because this is something that might happen more often, in Sahaja Yoga, since we have dating apps, since
Mm.
people. I mean, on the back of our minds, we always have the Sahaj marriage, but people are also trying to see what happens outside.
Yep. Yep.
And it's good to always have on the back of your mind that, okay, Sahaj marriage is there for me, and I don't know if it's like right or wrong to take it as a like another pet, maybe.
Mm.
But definitely, man, it was really, really interesting to hear you, and thank you very much. uh
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that I would like to leave with this one over
yeah,
here as well, I think a lot of people may look at the whole, dating outside of Sahaja or just dating in general as like oh no, we don't do it over here. Like it's not something whatnot. I'd like to sort of say from my side, I actually checked vibrations on what was the right path for me. And I was actually like every time in my meditation, I asked Shimaji, what is my path over here? And I kind of just like, it wasn't like, it wasn't like I got into my meditation that I should go into dating apps. I just explored
of course.
and I led with vibrations. And I think if anything, there were times where I just go, okay, this is probably not the right one. Cool. I'll just move on, whatever. But if anything, I wasn't thinking about it. And I think, I would say that my options were, I would say I'm very lucky to get what I get, but I would say also it is something that Shimaji wanted me to teach me for myself as well. So I did this with pure vibrations. Yes, there were a little bit of sort of thinking that came behind it, but I the reason why I pursued this was just purely based that the vibrations told me that this felt cool, and I just left with it. And as we all know, vibrations is the thing that determines all of this. If it doesn't, if the vibration says no, do not do it. Don't just engage it. That's it in general.
Yeah.
So I just thought I just thought I'd end off with that because I think a lot of people might think that going, oh, dating app, whatever. And I said, no, I think just check vibrations. But I'm not saying like, for example, don't check vibrations. Go, oh, which dating app should I go on? I mean, that's I think a bit ridiculous, right? You gotta just
Yeah.
go with your options, meet people, whatever, but also be mindful that your relationship to Sajaga is very different to how you bring someone into it, and you have to slowly give them drips and drabs. But I think this is also a good reflection on yourself, being a guru of this. If they see it good, if you don't, then I guess there's another one in plan for you. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool. 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 Thank you very much, Sean, for joining us. Thank you, Sean. See
No
you
worries.
really
It's been an
soon,
absolute
man.
pleasure. This was fun. This is cool.
Well, it was really fun. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah, yeah, no, oh, good. Bye bye.